Hello there, great person, and welcome back to Let's Watch Some Orb, Movements of the Earth, or as it is called in German, Heretic. I don't know why it's called that in German. So today we do have the episode, Even If I Die, the World Will Keep On Turning. So we do have Orchik, or whatever he's called, and his friend who are on a mission to now potentially save a priest or aid a priest to find Rafal's stash. And we're going to get into it right away. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, of course, check out my web novel, which is going strong, I think. First arc is done, 230 pages. So if you want to, so to speak, read the first saga of my story, it's out now. Feel free to just watch it or read it in one go. And we will see what philosophical ideas we will discuss today. I really do like the idea of this being several main characters. I always wanted to see a story like this, like just from a writing perspective. And we will just find out how it is. So let's go have some fun or more sadness with Orb, Movements of the Earth, or again, as it is in German, Heretics, deadly knowledge about the movements of Earth. I don't know why they call it. Anyway.
Doch ich frag mich, wer wir sind.
Yeah, okay, so now we go. Also, dear friends, of course, you noticed I did get my haircut finally. That was a hassle. Now I look like a person again, and we will just see what this is. It's funny that they say this word will continue, even though we basically had the translation of it will start, continue revolving, but... Peter, Yes, Noah, please. Ooh, yeah, it's a good question. The sanctity of faith. I do wonder what sancticity even is, actually. When I hear that word, I have a feeling, I've got associations in my head, but I can't really define it, because every time I would try to define it, I would try to define it with the words like God or godly or divine or something. And for me, that's a circular conclusion. So what exactly is sancticity? Faith in sancticity. I do think it is your highest value. I do think that is probably what, or not even your highest value, your highest idea you strive for. Because I do like that parallel between science and ethics or morals or faith or whatever you want to call that second branch. There is something out there, and you try to strive for it. In science, you strive for the formula, for the descriptions that make the world more clear to us, to unify ideas. For example, the search for this world formula, you might know, the theory of everything, we're looking for that. And it might just be an idea that never existed in the first place and will never exist, but it's something scientists strive for. They strive for these ideals of the equations that will be able to describe the mechanisms of the world completely. And obviously that's not possible. You cannot do it. Every scientific formula, every scientific idea is only valid within the confines of its area of description, so to speak. For example, gravity is only valid for stuff that's not quantum, you know? And I do think that is the basic idea in science, that you can never ever get to your ideal, which is the formula, or like the ultimate formula. And the same is true with faith or ideals. Like if you imagine something you want to strive for, you will never be that. You will never achieve that. But it is a good feeling to move towards it, to better yourself towards it. So I do think these two ideas in science and in faith or morality or whatever, in ethics, are actually on a meta level the same. Like they're not the same in the particular areas, but they are like the underlying idea I do think is so similar that I would say it's the same. So anyway, I do hope that wasn't too rambly, but I mean we're only 1 minute in, so so we know they will try to break out. Will Novak go after them because they still need the pendant? Oh, what was that? Yeah, they are pissing off. Oh, he immediately comes to the conclusion that the watchmen betrayed them. Funny, because watchmen are observers as well, like in astronomy you're an observer. Oh, he just does a bold thing. Oh, wow. He's a good shot. And they just turned over. So, friend, what happened to you? Or cheek, or whatever you are called. I'm so sorry for the pronunciation. Oh, wow, the monk fucking died. I mean, he's dying. Huh? Novak will not take that. He's pretending. Yeah. Yeah. Love that stance. Can you duel him though? How good is Novak? He might be very good, or he might not be. Why are you fighting? That's so awesome. Man, he's such a badass. Holy shit. Oh wow. After all the training battles he had, so to speak. Yeah. Yeah, will he let that slide though? I like that he's clever. He's just looking them up, that's so funny. Ooh. I like that writing. I don't know if that's something that was real, but I really do like that writing, because Novak is probably still conflicted because of the shockwaves that Rafal's fate sent through him, which I do think he obviously doesn't show it. I suspect they're there. I just suspect it. I don't know. Like, there's no hints, but I suspect they will be there. So this is, again, a Novak character moment. Man, I love Novak as a character. I mean, did he though? Do you have proof? Oh wow, the priest saved him. That is fucked. He stood up with those wounds. Really? Why does he have it? Oh, it's not Rafal's. That was a nice misdirect. I don't think it is Rafal's. Perhaps he got it somehow from Rafal's corpse, but I did think that Novak probably took it. We didn't see it, but so either there's two of these or more, and it's just the symbol for a cult, so to speak, or it's the same and we just didn't get to see where it went. That's so fucked, man. What will Novak say though? Oh, he just threw the... Oh, wow. Oh, that's awesome. He saved him. I forgot his name during the past week, but I'm sorry, but he's an awesome character. Why not? It's not worth... Oh, okay, you are... Why are you saying that? Why? Because that's their target. Those two can't read a word. Ah, okay. Is that true what he's saying here, or is he letting them go subconsciously? That's the question. I know consciously he probably believes what he's saying, because I do think he's a person who stands up for his opinions, not necessarily beliefs. I don't know that. I don't even know what beliefs Novak would have, really, because he's been very ambiguous about that when asked about it last episode. But I do think that he subconsciously might let them go here. Also, people have told me I should watch the opening. I will watch after the last episode. I'm sorry, it's just my spoiler policy. I've not been spoiled by anything yet in this complete channel's history. I wanted to remain that way, so I hope you understand. I know it's supposed to be a catchy song. I will love it, I'm sure, but it's just my policy. So now we're back in episode 3, the end. It's so fascinating. I still don't know if it's the same pendant. Oh, he's holding him hostage here. Interesting. Yeah, he probably even is. Yeah. Because it's something he believes in. Does he understand, though? He might. I don't know if he's empathic. Love the stars they draw here. So realistic. I know this is such a random thing. I don't remember if I talked about this, but yeah, I do think I talked about this last time, but I just want to mention it again because it's such an awesome thing that many pictures of stars you see in books are not photos. They are colored in by people to make them more visual and aesthetically pleasing, appealing, you know, and they might have colored in some dust or some H2 or something so that it looks cooler. Some are real photos, but many of them aren't. Just because I just saw that in the sky, it looked a bit like a photo, but probably wasn't. So what's gonna happen here? I know they will find it, but what will they talk about whilst doing that? I do think he's even seriously looking. Yeah, there it is. So I do think people have confirmed that Rafal probably changed it. Love that the stars were in the background as well when they found it. Man, Rip Rafal, what an awesome character it was. Oh no, I will get emotional if they read out Rafal's words. Man, don't read them out. Oh, that is so awesome. The thing is also, that diagram is exactly what he wants. It's the perfect circles, even though they are not, they're ellipses. At least by what we approximated by. But it is basically telling him, you were right, there is perfection, but not the way you're looking at the world right now, which is on a metal also beautiful thought, I think, because sometimes you're just so stuck in your mode of being that if you just shifted your perspective, everything would be so much more beautiful and perfect. And I'm using their words here, so you get what I mean. And, you know, fuck it, I'm going to talk about it now. I think I've mentioned it a bit previously, but the thing is that changing your worldview is almost never something that happens in the way that we would assume perhaps from everyday life, or how we assume from stories or from reports of things in history. From a cognitive and neurological perspective, changing your view is something that would demand so many resources and so much restructuring of your brain that it is almost impossible that it happens. And trauma can be like that. PTSD, for example, one of the things, not every time, but I did look into PTSD for one of my horror stories, The War Behind, where someone is living through the PTSD of an alien race, which he's listening with radio signals to the sky to see if there are things coming in that might be weird. They're in the Cold War, and so he wants to see if the Allies, like I think a Soviet, he wants to see if the Allies do send secret messages, and they have to decode them if they get some. But he receives this weird melody from space, and the melody, he calls it the melody of the void because it's from space, and that melody starts making him hallucinate a war he was never part of. And it makes him hallucinate friends he was never part of, the family he was never part of. He doesn't know what happens, and it's like a disease that then spreads among his base, and that's the premise of the story. But it's also dealing with that topic on a more horror level. But there is horror in your worldview collapsing, and the things you think you know not being true anymore, or realizing that things you remember weren't the way they are, or not being sure of your memories because everything shifts. And in war, that the most common thing that happens, I heard, and I've not read up on this in the detail I would have liked, so take it with a bit of a grain of salt, but I'm pretty sure I'm correct here, is that when in war and you kill someone, or you see someone die, you realize that the world is different than what you thought it was. You might realize that you are not a hero in a war, you're just a person killing another person for reasons that are decided by people you never met, you will never meet, and that might use you for their gain. It might be because you thought you were a good person, you still shot someone in the face. In the story, actually, there is a psychologist doing research on that base, which has this melody of the void infect them. And he did fight in World War II in the trenches, and he did kill someone. And a very hidden message, because that dude was German he killed, he was a Soviet, and he killed a German. And the German actually says, don't shoot, I would not kill you, you're a medic, because he's a medic, he was a psychologist, like he was a medic before, and he doesn't know that. So if you don't know German, you will never know what the German dude says. He just but if you're English speaking, because it's an English translated story, it is basically like he sees this person that shot his best friend in the face in the trench, and he's lying there and he's shaking with the gun and he's talking some gibberish German and he doesn't know what to do, and he just shoots him because he wants to make sure. But the German actually says, I wouldn't shoot you, you're a medic. And that's a bit of a twist on that as well, because I do think that's also something of this different perspective stuff. At least I wanted to put it, but it's not about my story. It's just like, that's where I did a lot of research of PTSD on. And what basically is the thing that your world crumbles, your worldview crumbles. And in science, it happens as well. If we have paradigm shifts, and there is a Kuhn cycle, it's called, where I do think it's a philosopher of science philosophy, basically describes paradigm shifts in science. And big ones are, for example, arrival of quantum physics, arrival of evolutionary theory, arrival of the heliocentric solar system view. And those are things where the worldview of the science community completely shifted. And it is akin and parallel to how your own brain would shift if you would suddenly realize that the way you see important key stuff in your world that you trusted on, that you built all your, or not all, but a lot of your personality and beliefs on, if you realize that's wrong, and people don't want that, that's why they also are in echo chambers, at least one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons why if you confront someone with contrary evidence, they will try to talk it down and reinterpret it and make it fit their narrative. It's confirmation bias, basically. Because if you wouldn't do it, your brain would go into overdrive, you would collapse half your nervous system. I'm exaggerating a bit, but it's a very harrowing thing. So it is a very, very big step of faith to change your views. And changing your views in a normal debate and changing your views in science are so similar because they're the same cognitive process and the same neurological process. It's rewiring of the brain. And I'm actually doing research in that. And I do think I'm the first person in the world that did this distinction in this, I can quantify it. I do think the idea was around that there's something called conceptual change, which is basically this. You change the core concepts you operate on. But in my research, I did find very severe hints, and it is in line with what I just told you, that there is no conceptual change most of the time. It's conceptual enhancement. Because normally what you do with knowledge, you try to incorporate it into your framework. You might shift the framework a bit. It's like, let's say you build a house. Let's say your knowledge is a house. You build it from the bottom up, and you build on more and more rooms and layers. And you build a beautiful skyscraper of knowledge and everything on top of each other. And if something doesn't fit, you just like, you repaint a wall, or you redecorate a room, or you take, you put a balcony on one side of the building and start building on the balcony, you know? Obviously that's unstable, which is not what I want to transport as a meaning and a message, but like the idea of this building, you perhaps shift a bit the shape, the direction of the building you build as knowledge, and that's enhancement. Like you develop it, you further it. And conceptual change would be you completely raise the building, start from scratch, nothing makes sense anymore. And because your neural networks and your neuron connections are built from like this network of associations, they will also have to collapse, so to speak. And your brain has to be literally rewired when you change your view. And that's why I do the distinction of conceptual change and conceptual enhancement in my research, which is something I do think that idea was around before, but I can actually quantify it with a model. And we can measure that. And I do think that's one of the achievements I did. I don't know if you care, but anyway, that's my research, at least my favorite one. So all those things said, I do think this is beautiful for this character, which is what I wanted to say, because he did have this worldview of the Earth is in the center, and Marth was in that model, and Marth did something he wanted to be beautiful, and beauty was the thing he wanted from his worldview. He wanted his worldview to be beautiful, to be meaningful, because otherwise that reality is too painful, too terrible. Like your friends die, your family suffers, people you know have accidents, you know, all that bad stuff in the world. Like if you just believe that there is some beauty to it, still you can press on. And now his world system crashed, his cognition crashed, and it's a very beautiful symbolism for that here. And now he has this new idea that is now perfect, which isn't, because he will have to also conceptually enhance that with like ellipses instead of circles and stuff, and move on. And then he has to realize it's a three-body, not even a three-body, it's an n-body problem, and you can't solve that and stuff. But it's so beautiful as a metaphor, this helio versus geocentric idea and the development. It's like a lot of psychology could have been done in this time had it been around, because these breaking points where your worldview breaks down are so interesting to do research on, at least for me. I love that. It's one of my favorite things ever. Okay, one is recently, one is 10 years ago. Novak might be one. I don't know though. Oh yeah, that might be. Yeah, that might be the heretic. Yeah. Yeah, it's from him. Someone else that was a lot more brave and young. Wow. That's so sad. Wow. Yeah. He was an astrologer. I don't know if that was a mistranslation, because he would have been an astronomer. Perhaps back then they did call all star observations astrology, because astro means star. Astra is the Latin word for star, and logy is, I do think, science or discipline or whatever. I don't know exactly. So it might have been that astrology was astronomy, but with some divine sparks in it, and then they parted ways. So he says he was an astrologer, but I do think he means an ancient astronomer. So, or he was from the church and really an astrologist. So. 3 stars with a mark. Yeah. Orion's belt is so cool. It's so striking. I really do love this, even though obviously this is for story purposes that he finds it, and it's like this ancient map that if you hold up your fucking stupid dumb shit knife, you get the fucking dumb shit Death Star. And I'm so sorry, I'm still hurting from that movie. But like it's constructed in the, like it's a bit fairy tale-y, but I do think it fits really well. I don't need. It's so interesting. I've discussed this with some people and the other anime and stories I watched. Because sometimes I'm like this stick-up asshole for details and logic. Like in Death Note, for example, I really went off on some episodes because I did think they did not make a lot of sense anymore, and there was like hand-waving plot stuff and conveniences. And what I say to these things is this. If the story doesn't present itself as something completely realistic, I do think I will let these things slide. And not only that, I really like them because there's something magical in it. And if it's done correctly, if it's done incorrectly, it's just like illogical stuff happening. But this is more like a really cool story, a bit like a myth he's telling you or being told. So I really like these types of stories, and I do see the whole story a bit like as this pseudo history myth. That is not there to depict real history, but to depict the ideas associated with these periods in history. And I do think that it is exactly right, writing-wise, to put stuff like this in. And I really do like this. So very well written in this context. It's also a bit of a cult. It's also so funny. It reminds me, and this is again, the Christians did have the ichthus symbol, which is the fish. So if Christians, or was it Jews? No, I do think it was Christians. When they wanted, like they had a secret sign, they drew a fish shape into the ground, for example, to say, I'm a Christian. And if you knew what that meant, the fish, you knew that the person was Christian, you could like be like a bit more at ease around them. You didn't have to hide that much. And this is basically the same, but for science. It's not for belief anymore. It's for science. They're doing the same thing they did as like the Christians did, but they do it with the Orion spell. Like if you show the Orion spell, and if you know this location, obviously it's a bit different. But I really like that parallel. The chest, man, Rafal, you're such a chat. Oh. Wow. Wow. Wow, man. That is so sad. Oh, fuck, man. Why is that making me so teary, man? I do have to think about that one Doctor Who quote I love so much. And I know the show's not what it was, but I loved a lot of the show so much. I mean, I had a Doctor Who themed wedding. But a good man is a man that does good without witness, without reward. And I do think that fits Rafal perfectly. I do think it is so powerful to not have his name anymore, to not have his face of this young child who was robbed of its future by the corrupt forces being around. And I do think his actions still echoed through history. No one will know, but the actions are there. So is it important to know the name, or is it important that you changed something? And even if it was just a ripple you started, it is so powerful and so sad, man. Man. Yeah. Yeah, truly enlightened, so to speak. That's why he was so happy. Oh, he did adjust them because he does have more time on his experience, whatever thing. I don't know. Oh no, the Rafal letter. Why doesn't you know? Oh yeah, I remember. But but he does remember how to read, and Noah thought that both didn't. So he underestimated them because of their class, I think. This is very nuanced, awesome writing. Earth. Yeah. Earth. I like tomes so much, man. And I love ruins like this. This bridge looks Roman. I don't know if it is, but it looks Roman. Very ancient. And in Roman times, there were people who thought that the sun was the center of the solar system. Like it just was an idea that wasn't pursued. And Earth being the center has not been around for a long time. And it was just a period in history. Like, it wasn't like it was always like that. And then they realized the sun was in the center. No, they knew the sun was in the center for quite some time, I do think. And then they switched. What else did I want to say? Yeah, exactly. The thing is also there is this idea that people thought the Earth was flat. They did think the Earth was flat, but they only thought, I think, those things in like very, very, very old times, like Babylonian times. Like, knowing that the Earth was round, they knew that in ancient Greek. And they knew that for a long time. So the idea that the Earth is flat being something that was state of the art during the past 2,000 years somewhere, it's not true. At least not in Europe. I don't know about other countries. I don't know. Perhaps there. But this idea of that the Earth was flat was around till, I don't know, 1,000 after Christ. Like 1,000 AD. No. Like, we knew that. And no one doubted that. They also used it in their reasoning here in episode, I think, 2 or something. So. But what will that do? No, don't leave it behind. That's so sad. That's so sad. Or no, wait, am I stupid and Rafal put it in the chest and the heretic took it out of the chest? That might also be. I might have missed that. I'm sorry if I missed that. That will just be my headcanon from now on. Even if it wasn't shown. Because I thought he burned with it. So, but, yeah. Oh, he read it, yeah. And there's Orion's belt. Starry Sky, one of my favorite paintings. Oh. His support has been valuable. Oh. Wow. That is, oh god. That is so fucking sad. Man, Rafal being the Chad even after death. Because he was betrayed by Potoki, but he forgave him. He forgave him. Because in the end it was his own choice to die for his beliefs, and Potoki couldn't, but he still saw that he got help from Potoki. Not the like, he didn't cover for him, but he did get the help. That is so sad, man. What an awesome kid he was. Wow. Go to that man. Go to that man and ask him. Is he even alive still? Oh. Yeah, Latin is... I probably could understand it. I know some Latin. But it's not, like, it's not easy, but it's also not hard. Oh. Really? So Rafal had a master plan? Oh no, it's his thoughts. I'm sorry, I'm a bit brain farty. Oh no, it's still his words. I'm so sorry. Really, who do you have in mind? The noble? Ooh. Bardini. I mean, is it heresy if they do the heliocentrism? Obviously, but you could, like, play dumb. You can always play dumb. Like, just play dumb. Like, if you play... It's better to play dumb when you're not dumb than play clever when you're not clever. Sometimes the second thing also works. It's just, I don't know. Contrarian thought. Okay, so you're going down this rabbit hole. Is he gonna come, though? He doesn't have the motive really, but... Yeah. Yeah, why would he go with him? Will you decide for me? No, you can't. You have to decide for yourself. I like that he does it. My prediction will be Grass will die and he will carry it on. Man, I love streams so much. Okshi, okay. That's easy. You have to. I did say that last time, like the wagon, the cart thing, whatever it's called in English, like the 4 dots and the tail. You just take the tail and go further, and you see it. Yeah, he doesn't have any experience in it. Oh, why can't he? Ooh, afraid of meaning in life. Perhaps. Yeah. Oh yeah, the lowly earth stuff, yeah. They are, though. I do think this idea is... this is complicated. The symbol of the eye is there for many reasons. Eyes are a very central part for cognition in human evolution. Because eyes tell you where people obviously look, but it also means, in a way, you know their intent. Eyes are also something you notice in animals and predators. You feel gazes on you. That is also something you do. So the eye is a very central part, not only by using it to see, which is like a no-brainer, I would say, but also being looked at is a very central part of society and of nature. Being looked at in nature might be a predator is going for you. Being looked at in society is you are being judged. It's also a predator, but on a bit more abstract level, I would say. So the idea of God, the all-seeing, is exactly that for me. It means that you are always judged by something. And as I said last time, and this is again my own opinion only, it's nothing, I don't know, it's just my opinion. It is that I do think that was the earliest idea, and that's exactly just a hypothesis. For me, that seems likely, and I like that thought. It's like just based on nothing other than some experiences and like cross-referencing stuff and thinking about some connections that are possible. I do think that that conscience is something we interpreted as God's judgment a bit before. It might not be the same, I know that, because God's judgment is also people around you looking at you, like that feeling, that is the feeling that you have of you cannot do everything you want. And in the end, that's the conscience again. Your conscience is like, you cannot do everything you want because otherwise I will come for you. I will remind you, I will wake you up at sleep and give you that memory again that hunts you down in like, or whatever you say, So I do think it's the idea of conscience as well, of a conscience, and also of societal pressure, because being judged by society is like, who are you? Where are you in the in the ladder of society. Where is your place? Are you at the top? Are you at the bottom? And the more you are on the bottom, you might be judged for being not good enough. The more you are on the top, you might be judged for your leading competencies or whatever you exhibit on the top. And it's basically everyone's judged in society everywhere. So I do really feel this. And because he says lowly earth, it was the theme last time, for me that's even more conscience. Like it is the more imaginary visual representation of conscience, like eyes looking up down on you, because that's your conscience. Lowly earth, we are so faulty, we are making so many mistakes, and if we do, are we going to be judged? Are we going to be judged by ourselves, by the thoughts that are in our minds because of it? You know, it's, yeah, very awesome.
空は見られたのかい?
Everyone can look at the stars because they're beautiful.
もう一度空を見たいとは思わない。
That's so sad, though. It's also a symbol for. It's also a symbol for. And I know this is a bit interpreting here again, I know, but it's a symbol for reaching for something. Having the guts to set yourself a goal that you are gonna try to achieve. Because if you set yourself a goal, you can fail. And if you fail, it's a shitty feeling. So, you know, that's also like, if you play it safe, you don't set yourself goals, you can't fail. Brilliant. You can live that life, but it might not make you very satisfied, and he's not satisfied.
せっかく好きだったんだ。
Because there's no joy anymore then.
グラスさんには関係ないことです。
I mean, Gras seems to be concerned because he's a friend. Yeah, he lost the family.
それに比べたら、
The problem is minor, but it's the same problem. I like that as well. I like that as well. Not all problems are the same scope, but
大問題だ。
man, it's so funny, I was about to say that. I can't now tell you I was about to say it because I didn't, but, and I talked about it, I think, last time or the time before, is that everyone has their burden to carry, and you cannot judge each other's burden because you're not in their shoes. You might try to give objective measurements, and then you can rank these things, but is that useful? Because if you're in their shoes, you would probably do the same. For example, if there's a rich person, and you're like, they have such a good life, it's so unfair, they have everything they want. But if you might be the rich person, you might be like, they will take away my money, they will backstab me, I cannot trust my friends, I cannot trust my family, they will backstab me. I have to keep this money, I have to perhaps even get more money to give to my children who might still backstab me. And like, there is a lot of stuff that can go wrong as a rich person. Or they have to work all the time, and judging people is easy, but trying to understand the people you judge is hard, I think. So I do think that it is true that from an everyday life perspective, you would be like, this one dude lost his family to the Black Death, I do think it was, and this dude can't look up at the sky anymore. Obviously, you can't compare these problems, but if you look at it like both their worldviews were shed on by something, his worldview was shed on by a priest, so to speak, like not necessarily on purpose, I'm not saying that, but it was shed on, and the other, like Gras's worldview was shed on by nature. So it's in a way still comparable, even though you would first say this is so different. I love that.
きっとグラスさんの場合は失われ
Yeah, perhaps they were never lost. Yeah, perhaps if it exists.
ありがとう。私もそう思うよ。
He doesn't. We don't see his eyes. I don't think he does. It's the thing, though. That's also why I hope there's an afterlife. Because I will see the people again. For a long time I thought I want there to be an afterlife because I want my memories to be there with me, because they're so important to me. I mean, you know, my favorite thing in the world are stories, and memories are the stories you tell yourself. So it's the most important story one can have is their memory. That's my view on it. I should write that into a novel, I think. Perhaps I will put that line in Dream Afterlife. I don't know. But yeah. I do think it is important, like for me, it would be more important that in the afterlife, the connections I made here with people will still be there somehow, and I can find them again through the connections. It's also the core theme of The Dream Afterlife, my web novel. Because it's connections. Because some people arrive to that version of the afterlife already connected, we don't know why. It's not yet clear. And some of these connections are hurtfully torn apart, which is happening in chapter 1. One of the connections is severed, and the character suffers greatly from that trauma. And others try to keep their connection intact in the afterlife that they woke up with, which is in chapter 2. So if you like these two ideas, check out the first 2 chapters. It is also about forging new ones. And also about jealousy on other people's connections. And I do think that's for me now what I want in the afterlife to survive. My connections to the people I love. Even if I don't recognize them. Even if I don't know, like if I don't know, like in the book, I wake up on the clearing and there's someone next to me and look at them and I know we belong together. I mean, in my version, that would be my wife, for example, but or like my children waking up there as well, and we don't know who we are to each other, but we know we are connected still, and that survives even after death. That is my wish and my hope. And so it's not seeing people again, but being with them again, I think. If that makes sense, I don't know. Yeah, we know that he lost his purpose. They both lost the same thing, that's what I said. It's so cool. Yeah. Yeah. I love the theme of the beautiful, cruel. The world is cruel and beautiful, like in Attack on Titan. That saying is so well done. Like that is one of the best lines in Attack on Titan. It's one of the most prominent ones. I do think it's memed a lot, like not in a negative way. I do think that's one of the core messages of Attack on Titan. And it's just that Attack on Titan did explicate it, but it is used in many animes. It is exactly that, and because I do think it's the core of realizing you're grown up as well in a bit, because when you're a child, if you do have an okay childhood, everything's good. There are minor inconveniences, but everything's good. And when you grow up, you realize the world is fucking cruel sometimes. There is disease, there are people dying, starving, there is political unrest, and there are fights, wars, there is vengeance and hate and fear, disgust and jealousy, and all the bad things are there, and they are not done away with by being a good person. They might be cushioned or whatever you say a bit, but they will still be there. And there are just people who are evil. There is just evil in the world. And realizing that is, for me, growing up. So realizing that the world is both beautiful and cruel. And that is what makes us human and alive, so to speak. Because if the world would just be cruel, you wouldn't even conceptualize anything other than suffering. So you wouldn't even realize what you are, I would assume. And if the world is just beautiful, there would be no point in the beauty, because you wouldn't be human anymore, because you would just marvel and don't think and don't realize that you are. Because you're just one with the world. I do think in both these cases, in the world being the cruelest place ever and the world being the most beautiful place ever, you would be one with that world. You wouldn't realize where the world ends you're in and where you start. You would lose identity, I would assume. It's just me talking here, what I just think. I don't know if there's anything to it. But I do find that interesting. And again, it is the loss of distinction you would live through. And as I talked about last time, distinction is what makes the world be. From both a physics and a psychological point, distinctions are what makes us be. And what makes us human and conscious as well, I would argue. And you can debate that, I know that. And I would love to debate that, because I'm not sure about it. But, it's just, Viewing it positively also is not that bad an idea. Heaven is our only hope. Yeah, it is corrupt.
作りになられたからだ。歴史上の頭のいい
That is so interesting. It is one of the core arguments of atheists as well, and I get it. I get this argument, but I do think there's a fault in it. And it's not that I do think the argument is correct, but I do think the assumptions are wrong. The argument is that if there is God, why would he permit all the suffering? He must be a cruel, sadistic fuck for doing that. And he makes all of us suffer. Why is he allowing suffering? Why isn't he not giving us bliss? And to that argument, I would say exactly that. We wouldn't realize there would be anything. We wouldn't realize what bliss is, what tragedy is. And tragedy, it makes the human experience so special. And I'm not saying that admiringly, it sucks, but that is the thing. And perhaps that is why, and I would just use this phrase, even though it's not, I would not use it because it's not what I want to say really. But it's like, if you would say God made the world so we can suffer, so that through that we see the world as the beautiful place it also can be, and we feel alive through that. And I know that is, I think, what is it, Buddhist? Life is suffering? It is the idea there as well. It's the same idea in many religions. And I do think that's interesting, and I don't think it is it doesn't make it any better that would be the interpretation. It sucks that there has to be suffering so that we can be happy, so we understand happiness. I would say that sucks, but that's how it is. And I can't conceive a world where without suffering we would appreciate anything. How would you do that? You wouldn't even realize there was anything else but bliss. It's basically like you would be permanently on drugs and lost yourself in the world. And it is a very good criticism level, though, against this personified God. Like, if God's a sentient being sitting somewhere on a throne, he made like that, and he made it, and he's actively seeing people suffer and not doing anything about it, even though he could, that will make him extremely cruel. But that's not how I would see it. I would see it differently, because, as I said, I don't think God's a dude on a throne or anything. If he would do that, he would be imperfect, and God is the idea of perfection to me. And that's not something sentient, it's something we don't understand, but we can only feel, I do think that's probably what I would describe God as, in my view. It is perfection, it's the ideal of this thing we hold most dear and we strive most towards. I do think that's my idea of God. And I know that's really abstract and weird and counterintuitive, and it would probably be really shitty to talk about that in the way that it is so hard to understand it and to frame your world to that idea, to understand me and consistently understand me, because there's so much baggage on this word God. But I do think that is to be said about that, and that's why I also think that atheists, if an atheist thinks that there is a sentient God, or if anyone thinks there's a sentient God, I would be an atheist in that I don't accept that you are God. That's basically what I'm saying then as an atheist. So if you say, I believe, if believing in a conscious God, let's say like that, is religious, and if you say not believing in a conscious God is atheist, like if you deny if you deny that there's a conscious God, then you are an atheist. I would be an atheist. I would be an atheist then, but I don't consider myself an atheist, because I do have this other idea of godliness, and it's abstract and probably a lot less cool than dude on a throne. But I find peace with that a lot easier, because it also is more complex, and I don't think easy stuff is that attractive, even though I like easy stuff when I want to relax. But I'm just drawn to complex stuff. I like that. And I do think stuff has to be addressed at the sufficient level of complexity. But again, I do think I would be an atheist, because, my argument would also be, what distinguishes an omnipotent, all-knowing God from an omnipotent, all-knowing king? You know, let's say there is and I love that in movies, and it's so weird. I've never heard this talked about, so this is first perhaps told you as well. There are stories where someone becomes a god in a story. So basically, you have a character A, and they have a journey, they find some mumbo jumbo, they meditate, or whatever they do, and in the end, they become God, and then they rule over the world, or they are the emperor, or whatever. I don't consider that God. I do think that's just a very powerful being, but it's not God. You know what I mean? And I would see I wouldn't see a reason to worship that. I wouldn't. I would perhaps agree with it, admire it for what it does, but I wouldn't worship it. Because it is then that worship would turn into, I worship it so you are pleased, and so I do what you want, not what my free will wants. And I do think with the fruit of knowledge, at least in the Bible, we got free will. So that's like, even that is contradictory, and I know there are contradictions in the Bible. I do think there are contradictions in the Bible, for example, because different situations need different solutions. If you you cannot have a scripture that is perfect in that it will solve every problem, because different problems need different solutions, and one solution to one problem might be a bad solution to the other problem. You know what I mean? And I've talked so much about this tangent. I'm sorry. I know you're here for that. I still say I'm sorry because I'm like that. But so. Have you given up on the world? Yeah, good question. Yeah, that's awesome. Only loss. Yeah. That also means that heaven and hell would be you losing yourself as well. So, yeah. I want them to trace the North Star through the big card or whatever, so. That's also the question. Why would you risk your place in paradise? I do think my easiest answer, and you could give many more answers, but I've talked a lot today already. My easiest answer would be, you would lie, and you're not supposed to lie by the 10 Commandments. Like as a Christian at least, and here's a Christian. So he would lie. He would think he sees the truth and he would lie about it. So he would not get to paradise. He couldn't, because he did act against God's will. Yeah, but our actions will reverberate like Rafal's did. Just have to put the right actions in.
Yeah.
Yes, what did you realize? Ooh, are we gonna get something new here? Wow, that looks so beautiful. The bridge is whole again. Is it the flashback to Rafal? No, okay, it's another one. Oh god, are you safe? I'm so anxious about this. They're crossing a bridge now. It's also, a bridge is also a symbol for traversal to something new. So the other bridge was broken because they weren't ready to traverse yet. I know that's really reaching, but you know that's how I am. And now they can traverse because they realized stuff. And they can go into their new world. I like that. Yeah, he has. That's awesome. No. Yeah, he can. Why would he get closer to heaven? I do think, like, I know why in story, so to speak, why they think that, but I do think that's a flawed logic. Because you lie. I do think that's one of the most, that's so interesting. I do think the you shall not lie commandment is something that the church really did shit on in these times. So it's so interesting that they don't consider it. They might not know it, but I do think they knew the 10 Commandments by heart probably in these times. So I really don't know. Oh god, he's gonna die. Oh, thank fuck, he caught him. So the bridge bag is broken now. Is he gonna die here? He might die here. Give him the book. Yeah, he will die.
2つ目を2つ目は1つ目全部無視して
No. Wow.
再びその目で空を見て
Wow. Are you fucking serious? That's okay, this is again fairy tale stuff, I don't care.
そっちこそ何してるんです
I'm so glad he's not dead yet. Perhaps he dies in a moment. But would they die in that river? It's not that deep. Like, that's 10 meters. You can just jump in. I've done that from a bridge where we lived. There were bridges over channels, and they were not that deep. Like, we were a bit mad.
このままでは2人とも死ぬ
I don't know why they would die here. Don't they know how to swim? Perhaps that's it.
この世界は喪失であふ
Yeah.
人はいつか死んでここを去る
Yeah. But the reverberations will be there.
だったらそこに何かを託せる
Love it though.
希望だ
Yeah. By the good actions.
期待されても困る俺がやる保証なんてば
That is true. That's why it's hope. That's so funny.
死を恐れてるからだ
You still fear death. Yeah. I'm really sad that he's dying here. I just can't take it seriously because he's just falling into water. That's so sad, man. It's an awesome death. I'm just not feeling it because he's just falling into water. Like 5 meters. It's a sad scene. I just have to say it here. Like, I do think it's a very sad scene. I just can't buy the situation. That was ridiculous. Sorry. It's so sad because Grass was an awesome character. Like, first the necklace thing and then him falling 2 meters down. He's not dead. If he's dead, like, what the fuck? I would have liked it if there were, like, sharp rocks. Then I would have really cared. But, like, I do care, but I'm not feeling emotional and sad because there was, like, the ridiculousness of the situation overrode my sadness for Grass, who ripped Grass, awesome character. I like the actions live on. Like, we live on through our actions. It's a bit of an evolutionary idea as well.
いやクラ
Grabowski, okay.
だっけあの人とはお
Okay, so who was the one before him?
言わないで
So let's see what's gonna happen. I mean, I know you. Oh no, it's him. So he went. No, so he went to the village. Yeah.
さんですよバデーニさん
Ooh, awesome design. What happened to your eye, mate, and your face? I like how he's in shadow here, and the other one's in light. Like, I like that when they do that. When someone's in shadow. Ah! Whatever. Fuck off. I mean, the good thing is, I can now go to bed. Bad thing is, I want to watch more. What a conundrum. Anyway, I do hope you liked the reaction. I did ramble a bit again. Obviously, I do. So please tell me what you thought of this. Also, obviously, don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out my web novel about the afterlife as well, because that's the theme there. Like, give it 3 or 4 chapters, and then if you don't like it, drop it. But if you do like it, comment, because I would love some feedback. And if you are interested in that horror story I mentioned, I just thought of that. Just tell me in the comments. I will link it then in the pinned post. But I'm not like. I don't know if anyone is interested in that horror story. I do think it's a very good one. It's like the second last I wrote. Or is that an expression? But I do think it's very good, and I do think it's very good. Like, if you like short horror stories, it is an audio story, so you have to listen to it for free on YouTube, but I can post it. Anyway, I've self-plugged enough, so don't forget to take care of yourself as well. I hope you're fine. I hope the suffering part of your life is not too bad currently, and you have a lot of hope, fun, and great stuff. And I wish you all the best as always. Don't let it get you down, and see you around. Bye.